This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance at nhliberty.org.
We're going to make some predictions regarding the outcome of elections in 2010. Just off the top of my head without doing any additional research. Talking mostly about New Hampshire here. And I'm going to start with the most counterintuitive prediction.
We're here primarily members of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance.
Okay.
Familiar with us at all?
Yes, I am.
Governor John Lynch currently has a double-digit lead over his Republican challenger, John Stephen. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and predict that Stephen wins. And I could definitely be wrong here. But I'm basing this on the idea that the history is what we need to look at, not polls. At least not this far in advance of the election. The polls count more when we get closer. But at this point, I'm more interested in what the history is. The history is that no governor in New Hampshire has ever won a fourth consecutive term. Now, am I saying it would be good for Stephen to win from a liberty perspective? Over the short term, yes. For the first 2 years, it would be better. I mean, it would be better to have him over the next 2 years than Lynch. However, over the long haul, I think it might be better for liberty if we're stuck with Lynch for another 2 years. By the end of which time, I think we might be in a good position to put a liberty candidate in there. John Stephen, while better than Lynch, is not really a liberty candidate per se. I do think, though, if he wins, it's probably going to be a very close win. I'm also going to project, again, this is September 2010, I'm making this projection. Going to project that the New Hampshire Republicans gain 60 seats in the State House, 4 seats in the Senate, and that they regain marginal control over the Executive Council. All bets would be off, however, if the Obama administration were able to successfully mount a terrorist attack against itself and make it look like political opponents were to blame. Obviously, there's some speculation that this is what happened in 1995 with the Oklahoma City bombing. Not much evidence necessarily that that's how it went down, but the effect was to boost the administration in power. Same effect happened as a result of 9/11. Authorities benefit from terrorist attacks against them and thus have a motive to commit them. So they can blame their enemies and look like the victim. I'm also projecting that 8 Free Staters win their general election and make it into the New Hampshire House. I had pegged the number at 9 earlier, but I was mistakenly counting Jim Forsyth as a Free Stater. My understanding now is that he's not a Free Stater. He's running for Senate, State Senate. I'm also going to predict that Frank Guinta wins his congressional bid on the basis that he will be perceived as something of an outsider to Washington. He's the Republican candidate. As for Charlie Bass, I'm not going to make a call on that one. He's the Republican running for U.S. House also. I'm not saying I expect to be right on any of these predictions. I'm just kind of making them for fun.
This edition of the Ridley Report was brought to you by the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance at nhliberty.org. If you were to go to the State House and do this, then you would step on the toes of a Liberty Alliance member, because they're all over the place at the State House. They are there fighting for your freedom, and they need your help. Visit the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance at nhliberty.org and join them. Or maybe I should say, join us, because I am a member. nhliberty.org. By the way, if you haven't moved to New Hampshire yet, this is just another glimpse of what you're missing.